Hey, everybody, you're listening to another episode of the Church Communications Podcast. I'm your host, Daryl Girardier, and with me, as always, is the one and only Katie Allred. The podcast today is, I guess you would say, it's not brought to you by Skype, but it's being powered by the wonderful people over at Microsoft who've provided this great tool called Skype. So, legally speaking, we have to acknowledge them. So, Skype, thanks for doing this. Skype. Katie, how are you doing?
I am just living my best life, you know? I went to get a massage. Literally, my life seems really fun. I was going on vacation, then I had just got back from vacation. Now I just went and got a massage. So really, I am just doing the most, and it's incredible. And I mean, you should try to get on this level here because I feel fine about myself personally.
Apparently so. Because, and then like a week and a half you leave and you go on a creative mission trip.
And I go to Canada. So I'm like, whatever, you know?
Gonna eat some bacon and maple syrup.
Bacon and maple syrup.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. Well, there you go. All right. Well, today's episode, we've got 4 different stories. Some are a little fun and weird. Some are actually ones I think you all will take great interest in. So,
how are you doing, Daryl?
Oh, Katie.
We always talk about me, you know.
I just spent the weekend in Chicago.
Yeah. How did that go?
Filming one of our missions partners. It was good.
Yeah?
I love the city of Chicago. It was one of my favorite places in the world. I like to think of myself as a super healthy eater. Unless I go to Chicago, then all bets are off, and it's nothing but deep dish pizza, Portillo's beef sandwiches. I pig out to the point where Sunday on the flight home, I'm literally kind of like, you have to roll me off the plane. So that was the high. Plus, you know,
you're living your best life too.
I'm trying one day at a time. And next week I'm gonna go hang out with the guys at Pushpay. I'm going to Seattle to go hang out with them for a day or two. So nice. Yeah, so spend some time with some friends. So there you go. So making it every single day. All right, Katie, we got 4 stories. Let's start at the top. We're going to start with Instagram. Our friends over at Instagram have unveiled some new features if you've got a Instagram business account, and specifically some features for your inbox.
Making it easier to do business on Instagram.
That's the title of their article.
Yeah.
So it looks like what they've done is inside, at least on the inbox, they are adding some stuff in regards to like direct messages that you might exchange with somebody. So one of those things that they're adding is the ability to, looks like almost have templated replies or quick replies, I think is what they're referring to.
Some canned replies. I mean, they're calling it quick replies, but like it's basically
canned.
a canned thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can make them up yourself, so that's good. I think it looks like it's based on a word trigger. Because it says ship, event, hours, and so it looks like it may actually do it for you.
Ooh, like a bot?
Perhaps. Because, I mean, it does say, like, don't you see that? Like, the word ship is above, we charge standard shipping rates. I wouldn't think that would be for the human. I would think that would be for the computer.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
I don't know. Anyway, that's a thought. We'll see.
And they're also adding, it looks like they're adding action buttons of some sort. So inside Instagram, so it looks like basically what they're doing is they're trying to find third-party partners. So basically you can have transactions inside of Instagram without actually leaving Instagram. So now, obviously churches aren't asking people to buy stuff, but like it looks like if you use, say, like Eventbrite for all of your booking of all of your events at church, they're going to have an Eventbrite button. So you could maybe like advertise a women's event for your church inside of Instagram, and then right inside of Instagram they can register, do whatever for the event using the Eventbrite app or Eventbrite.
Yeah, it's looking like it's on the business profile.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's on the profile page, but not in the story.
So it would be like click our profile link.
Just go to our profile page and click buy tickets.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
It seems like a weird call to action, but at the same time, like, I guess if you're doing like a big push, it's fine. I still think they just need to go and push Instagram like links out to everybody who has a business profile.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I don't know. I guess they don't want everybody to have that. So I don't know. I don't know how they're policing it or why. I mean, other than like 10,000 likes, that what we came to the conclusion of.
Yeah, is it 10,000 followers is what you have to have?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 10,000 followers.
Yes, 10,000 followers to get all the other fancy features, which I mean, I get, but I guess if you're a small business, that's kind of interesting. If you're a small business or small organization, that's just kind of hard to reach. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so interesting. Well, yeah, so there's some of the stuff you can be looking out if you have an Instagram for business profile. If you've done that, you've done that work, you got one of those. You can look for those features rolling out
You
soon.
should have one because you get statistic. I mean, yeah,
The-
stats. And then you also get the ability to schedule
Yep.
within Hootsuite, and now Sprout Social does scheduling as well within Instagram. So yeah, you get a little bit more functionality. So
There you go. We're just waiting on Buffer. Buffer's like the one of the last big dogs that hasn't done this, right?
yeah, I think that they're working on it.
Okay.
But
Interesting. Interesting.
Buffer is buffering.
Buffers. Buffers buffering. All right, next article is this. It is an inside scoop on how Facebook's newsfeed actually works or how it will work in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it looks like at the F8 conference, which we talked about last week, the VP of Newsfeed, Adam Mosseri, looks like he almost gives like a breakout talk during F8 and basically kind of walks the audience through, hey, here's how we're refocusing the Facebook newsfeed to build more person-to-person engagement.
Yeah. Did you see? Have you seen their commercials? Facebook's commercials?
On TV,
Yeah, on TV.
the one where they're kind of apologizing, but not really.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they're like, we're just bringing it back to who we are. Like we're
Yeah.
about you and your kid, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't believe it for a second?
No,
Is that
not
what
one.
you're trying to say?
Not one hot minute. Don't believe them at all. Do not.
Okay.
It's wonderful marketing spin. Do not get me wrong. It's a wonderful video, wonderful marketing spin. They nailed that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely is a spin. At the end of the day, they have to make money, but
Mm-hmm.
their session was called Consumption to Connection, so they're talking
Exactly.
about building the person-to-person engagement.
So yeah, so it looks like what they're trying to do is three core things is what he breaks down to. And that is one, they're trying to help people see stories that they believe they're going to find meaningful and bring people together. That's one. Two, figuring out how people can share moments that matter. And three, working on better facilitating conversations about all of these things. I think the last one's the big one. I think
Yeah.
continuing, and you and I have talked about this, Katie, I think the deal is they're looking for content that's generating conversation.
Right.
And so you and I looked at some stats this week on a couple of Facebook pages that we run for our church. And
Right.
what were some of because we were looking at our pastor's personal I say personal Facebook
Dude,
page.
our pastor blows up the internet. It doesn't matter, though, where he's at. He could be on Twitter. It could be on Facebook. It could be on Instagram. Wherever he posts, people like it. They want to share it. They want to talk about it.
But he seemed to have more comments and more conversation around his.
Yeah, because it's real. He's being honest.
So you think it's because he is very, like, for those of you who don't know, our pastor's mom is going through Alzheimer's, or some sort of variation of that. And so he's just sharing that.
Yeah, that experience as he goes.
Yeah.
And I think it's just authentic and real, and that's what people want more of.
Yeah.
When I did the culture conference for Vanderbilt, and that's what I talked about. Authenticity is king. Like, used to be content was king. I don't think you don't need to create more content as much as you need to create authentic content.
Yes. And I think that's a little bit for some churches that I'm going to totally project this out there. So bear with me.
I mean,
think,
us included.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm referring to our church. We come from a church that's a bit more polished and professional. That's one way to
Right.
describe it because we have, executives and CEOs that go to our church. So the
Right.
idea of being authentic is a little bit, runs counter culture or counterpoint,
Right.
if you will, to our aesthetic.
Who we are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and would it be bad if we weren't, so clean and whatever? I mean, yes and no. There are some things that I feel like we could do more authentically, but at the same time, like we're trying to do some small things that are still very professional, right?
Right.
Like we do the Meet Brentwood
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I want to extend that into other ministries. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other thing is, if you read this article if you're going down the article, one of the things he spends actually a good portion of time on is actually the Facebook stories, which I think they believe, and I think rightly so, that creates more authentic content and more real
Yeah.
content because it's less polished, because it's, it's you in front of a camera just going.
Yep.
So, so anyway, check it out. It's a good one because it kind of, again, it reemphasizes the whole thing about how what's actually a newsfeed's composed of, inventory, signals, predictions, all that kind of stuff. If you haven't studied this stuff before, it's really good. And I think it's worth checking out. And again, there's got some nice visuals that kind of lays everything out for you as well. Story number 3, Google I/O, which is kind of like
AI.
It's I/O.
Really? Because it says Google AI.
No, I'm talking about the conference, not the article title.
Oh, I was like, what are you reading?
Google I/O, which is the conference where they unveiled some AI. There you go.
Okay, I was so confused.
Like Katie's going, Daryl can't read.
I was like, I don't know, maybe it
No,
is AI. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that's a fancy font they're using.
You do love font.
Who doesn't love a good font? Unlike Arial. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. So Google I/O is basically, think of it as like their Worldwide Developers Conference that Apple does, or like their Facebook F8. So This is where Google unveils a whole bunch of stuff, and their conference that's like a 2 or 3 hour thing.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
But Katie,
I want to watch the whole thing. I need to do that.
You need to. It's really, what I've seen so far is really good.
Did you watch all of it?
I have not. I just watched
Okay,
this.
I only watched the 5 minutes about the AI thing.
So, Katie, would you like to explain to the audience what they did and why it was so, crazy?
Crazy. Yeah, I saw people sharing, and I was like, I don't want to watch this. I was like, it just makes a phone call. Who cares? So basically, you can ask Google Assistant to make a phone call on your behalf. So you can say, hey, Google, call my hairdresser, make an appointment between 12 and 2, and it will make an appointment with the hairdresser on the phone. And it doesn't sound like a computer at all. And it says, and like it waits patiently, and it can figure out like basic nuances. And even with the phone, like, so they called a restaurant, and it seemed like maybe Google didn't know how many people were actually in the party. Like maybe the person didn't tell them, so he just made up an arbitrary number. Like there's 4 people in our party, and it kept like the person kept asking like what day, and Google kept gently reminding next Wednesday. Like, but like as a person, and they had ums and pauses that are very human like in the Yeah, it's super creepy, but also like incredible. Like, I am encouraged, but also afraid.
So I'm with you. I was on and I still am. I'm on that's too creepy for me. I'm not cool with it because I believe you should have some sort of clarifying thing that lets you know you're talking to a computer. However, I also thought about somebody brought this to my attention, which I think is very accurate. If you are a person who is disabled, so you are mute, okay? Or and you're able to type into Google, hey Google, do X for me, and they can all of a sudden make a phone call, make that happen for you. Or if you you suffer from speech impediments of some sort,
or deaf.
Any of these things, and Google can.
We've been using translators for years. Although, I mean, I guess that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dave Adamson, by the way, on the chat right now is asking whether or not it does Australian accents. No, they apparently have not loaded that language in there yet, but I understand that's one of the plans they have to do is load Australian.
Oh, really? You like looked into that?
No.
Okay, I was like, are you really?
No, I'm just totally making that up. So anyway, I think from a outreach standpoint, it's so we have to go back to the question of is how does this apply to the church? I mean, I think there's some different ways you could think about this. Again, where I think a little bit of the danger. By the way, Dave tells us that Aussies are an advanced accent, so that's good to know.
So it was Alabamian.
I think one of the things we always got to remember when it comes to technology is there's 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at technology enabling you to do something, and technology doing something for you. Those are 2 different things. And we have to be careful that too often when we find stuff that does stuff for us, like i.e., for example, auto scheduling your tweets, those type of things, in the long term, that can kind of backfire if we're not careful. And to me, this kind of falls in one of those in that kind of category. So Anyway, I just think it was
As in,
wild.
like, you schedule a thing that's like, man, I love the I don't know, you love something and then like a terrorist attack happens in that area. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, and then and like you don't realize you scheduled it way ahead of time.
Yes, no,
That kind of
exactly.
a thing.
Well,
Or it's like insensitive maybe or something.
well, there's that, but like when you schedule content, I mean, certain times it's okay, but the reality of it is when we fall way too towards that, that goes back to the authenticity point. You lose
Sure,
some of
yeah.
that, which is why I'm glad you can't schedule stories,
Right.
those type of things. But anyway, this Google AI thing, it's a little like interesting. Some applications I think are there. I'm just not quite sure what they are yet for the church. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, as a receptionist, we talked about that.
That's
Like if you
true.
if you I mean, they haven't rolled out a feature that's like somebody that answers the phone for you and then redirects numbers, but I mean, it takes a note or whatever, like, but that's about to happen, right? Like, Google's about to put out the most amazing, like, receptionist, like, phone call answerer ever. Which I think would be great, personally. Like, I would
Well,
love someone else to answer my phone calls and just let me know about them.
okay. So here's what it'd be really helpful for, like tech support. Like,
Sure, yeah.
I'm
Just
trying
restart your computer.
but because Helen gets our assistant at the front desk gets questions all the time. So if we could kind of alleviate a lot of that stuff for her, where it automatically redirects people, or that's pretty cool.
Did you see the end of that clip? It talked about how Google will now call businesses on like holidays and ask them
Yes,
their time of when they're open on that holiday and then update their Google My Business page for them.
I thought that was pretty sweet. I thought it was pretty
What?
awesome.
They're going to be calling millions of businesses. But also they were like, well, I guess they already have the data of people who are calling their business from the Google My
Yeah,
Business page, because you hit call or from Google. And so I'm sure they know what businesses are getting called a ton more than like other businesses. So
yeah,
I assume they'll just call and ask them like, hey, y'all open today? And then they'll use Google AI to say yes or no or whatever. So
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be some pretty interesting things coming down the road. All right, our last story is Facebook is testing out some new features for Facebook Live.
yeah, I hope that there's more. I was kind of like underwhelmed by these.
Yeah,
They're good,
yes,
but
I
we could do more
well, I think we're still missing. You're still missing the holy grail, which is desktop publishing straight from a true Facebook
with an
channel.
interview.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that's still not quite there.
The Holy
But
Grail not there quite yet, but this is what we get.
what do we get is first thing we get something called persistent stream keys, which really sounds fancy, but it's kind of not. If you've ever used what is it? Why am I going blank? OBS.
Yeah.
Which is basically you can use as a tool from your desktop to broadcast Facebook Live. You've always had to go in, generate a new key, put the key in, all that stuff. What this is going to do is this should give you a persistent key that you don't always have to go back and get, which looks like it's basically saving you a hassle, is what I would
Yeah,
think.
I mean, you always just had to go back into facebook.com/live
Yeah,
and find a new key and then publish a new key in OBS. So, I mean, it wasn't like a huge
yeah,
step, but it was one step that they're saving you.
yep.
So that's nice.
Number two, they're testing out live cross posting. So taking something like this Facebook Live and being able to cross post it across multiple pages. They didn't say groups. They just said pages in the article here. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a plan for you to be able to do that in groups as well. So if you're on multiple pages, like you have multiple campuses, but you want to do a live, which that would be a good use for it, and then turn around and broadcast it across all of your pages.
Yeah.
And number three, they're looking at doing live or rewind. So kind of almost like a DVR type feature.
Yeah, while they're live, I mean, they should have probably been doing this whole time. People come into live
Yeah.
feeds and they can't reverse them. They can only just watch where they
True.
are.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of people, excuse me. I know there's a lot of people who come in the middle of Mike talking, our pastor talking, and would like to have seen the whole thing, but they didn't get to. So I think just being able to rewind, especially if you're in the middle of the service at church, right? Like just being able to rewind just a little bit to get what they said is handy.
Yeah, I think so. But I agree with you in terms of like, if there's an area of Facebook that I'm underwhelmed in terms of like where I think they could be and where they currently are, that is in the live setting. Cause I just feel like There's 1,000 more tools out there, even like little nice additives that like other platforms use that they just haven't seen.
Right, and have had for years, right?
Yes.
Like YouTube.
Yeah.
I think what they are really, you can do interviews via your phone, right?
Right.
And that's because like literally 90% of their like traffic is on their phone.
Right.
The 10% are us who are making like shows every week.
Yeah, and that's where like I want to say, okay, so maybe this is the way I would phrase it, is I'd like them to put more effort into helping creators from creators who are trying to do mass distribution versus one-on-one creators.
Right.
And,
right.
Maybe that goes against the ethos of what they're trying to do right now in regards to connecting people one-on-one. But
right.
It just seems to me like they're missing out on something they could help us with.
Right. But we're just people. And I mean, if we're doing an interview, that's like more about people, isn't it?
That's true.
I don't know.
That's a good point. That is a good
and
point.
We're connecting with our people. So
yes. There you go.
People to people to people, man.
Katie, is there anything you want to lift up this week?
You always ask me first, so why not ask you? Is there anything you want to lift up, Daryl?
Oh, we're going to go that route. Okay. I see how it's going to be. There we go. Great question, Katie.
See, I caught you off guard.
You know what? I'm trying to think of what I would tell you. That is a great question.
I'm going to go with creative missions.
Okay,
sorry. Now I just cut you off.
No,
see?
you're good. I've got mine. Mine is a good friend of mine, Jamie Thompson, who is in Garfield Park, Chicago. He's our one of our missions partner. So Jamie basically did a church plant in the roughest, if not one of the roughest areas in all of Chicago. Moved his family there about 14 years ago and planted a church in the middle of Garfield Park. And so God continues to bless that church, continues to grow and thrive. But he did something that most people would never do. And so I want to lift him up because he's an amazing man who has an awesome family. And it was really cool to go and capture his story on film. And so we're hoping to produce something and get it out the door later in June. So there you go. I also want to lift up every one of our members right now of our group who is about to head into the summertime, which means you're going to be dealing with VBS, summer camp, missions trips, all that other stuff you got going on. Because we know it never actually really stops for us. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, VBS, it should be easy, right? Like, I feel like every time I'm like, oh, VBS should be a breeze for us, but it's not.
Never a breeze.
It's a lot of stuff, yeah. So next week I'm going on creative missions.
Yes, you are.
What's up, Canada? We're going to Canada, so I am so pumped. And we're going to hang out with Owen Scott, who's in our group, so I am pumped to hang out with him and Kyler. Did you meet Kyler last Sunday, by the way?
He never came by and saw me. No, I forgot. I wasn't here. I was in Chicago.
Oh, geez. None of us were here? That's the worst.
But again, he didn't text me to let me know he was coming by. So there we go. So there's that. So
we're the worst people.
Yeah,
anyway, so I'm excited about creative missions. I'm leading a team this year. I know, right? Like, you should pray for those people.
I didn't realize you were leading the team.
I am, yeah. I'm like the lead. Yeah, I'm a lead on a team.
Wow. All right. Well, folks, if you're on that team, I'm going to head and pray
I get to be
you
for a whole week. The power.
Oh, trust me, you don't want it. You don't want it.
I'm great, really. I like my lane. You can stay in yours. Everybody's happy, I like my lane. It's great. I just maybe want to change it up every once in a while,
Oh
throw
my gosh.
maybe a double lane, but I definitely don't want a different street or an interstate or anything. You know what I'm saying? I want Concord Road, but widened a little bit.
You take the road metaphor, you just drive it into the ground. There it is.
Drive it.
You're literally driving it into the ground.
I love metaphors, and I love jokes, and I love running things into the ground. It's literally my favorite thing to do.
I'm sure it is.
So, yeah, I'm sure it is. You've never talked to me before.
Oh, trust me, I have.
You've never done. Oh man! All right. So, anything else we need to chat about?
I think that's it. I think we are good to go, folks. If you
should tell people they can join our group.
You know what? You can join a group if you haven't done that yet.
Because we've had a few people that joined this yesterday when I added 300 people. Some people had been in there since April 11th, so
We're
sorry.
sorry about that. That was
That's a group effort, and we failed.
yes.
And so, anyways, but a lot of people had said they had heard about us on our podcast, but we're not in the group. So,
Yeah.
hey, if you're listening, we have a Facebook group. Just find us Church Communications.
Yeah, so if you would do us a favor, join the group. We'd love to have you in there. If you are listening on iTunes, hit the subscribe button. Oh, wait, if you're already listening on iTunes, you've already hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on iTunes, why don't you give us a rating? If you haven't subscribed to us, why don't you do that? If you're on Facebook, like or share the video. And if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well, because we'd love that. So we're everywhere. And so, again, we want to thank you all for listening or watching. You guys have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.